So, one of the things that people ask me is, you know, depending on the book, is why did you write this book? And one of the reasons for this one is I had done a series of books on presidential election history. So why not do another one? Well, you need to change your act occasionally, and Theodore Roosevelt is a great act to follow and write about. He's maybe, well, not only the greatest or most interesting, let's say the most interesting American president, but maybe the most interesting American period, because he's the president, he's the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, the fellow who took Panama and let Congress debate, police commissioner of New York, big game hunter in Africa, South American explorer, rancher in North Dakota. And not only that, but the author of any number of books, a magazine editor, a newspaper columnist. He does just about everything. And his life, his career is kaleidoscopic. But a kaleidoscope is made out of glass. And those glasses can have sharp edges. And so this period of his life is sort of the sharp-edged period. And so, well, because he's so interesting, because there's so much of him, even if you do a full biography of Theodore Roosevelt, by the time you get to this period and you're an author, you're exhausted. So you sort of rush past it. So people just go and say, well, oh, and then he died. But this is, in fact, one of the most complex portions of a very, very complex life. And it's in many ways a dark period, an unsuccessful period, and it's how he copes with having dug himself a very, very big hole in, well, he digs that hole on election night 1904, when he wins the biggest landslide to that point in American presidential electoral history. And he stands up and he said, I'm not going to run for another term. And when he does that, well, who is going to run in 1908? And he's going to pick a successor, and that's going to be William Howard Taft. But they will not get along. TR will be very, very seriously displeased with how Taft comports himself in the presidency. And TR will run for president himself in 1912 on a third-party ticket, split the Republican vote, and elect Woodrow Wilson as president. So Wilson is president, and Theodore Roosevelt is not. There's a bunch of upstate in this story. And the story, there's a vignette which starts the book. But the story really begins upstate, and it begins in a courtroom in Syracuse, where Theodore Roosevelt is being sued for libel by the Republican boss of Albany County. If you can imagine a Republican boss, or even a Republican in Albany County.
That's true.
But there was a fellow named William Barnes, who was buried in Albany Rural Cemetery, a descendant of one of the founders of the Republican Party. And I think the O'Connell machine, the Democrats learned a lot from how he ran things. And for a while, he was really cock of the walk in Albany and in New York State, and a real power in Republican politics nationwide. And Theodore Roosevelt in 1914 is campaigning for Progressive Party candidates, this third party. And he says, you know, there's so much corruption in this state. And it's not just the Democrats. It's not just those Tammany guys in New York City. It's also they're in cahoots with the Republican Party in this state, which is run by Billy Barnes, and they're all corrupt. And Barnes says, corrupt? That's actionable. I'm going to sue Theodore Roosevelt, and I'm going to prove he's a liar. I'm going to prove we're not crooks. And I'm going to put a final stake into his political heart and just ruin him. So TR is on trial in Syracuse that year. And this is May 1915. And it's important that he's there because he's surrounded by all these reporters. And at that moment, the Germans sink the Lusitania. And those reporters don't have to go getting on the train to Oyster Bay and running up the hill. They've got TR right there, and he can make the statements that he wants to about the Germans, about piracy on the high seas, about the murder of innocent women and children, about the murder of Americans, and what a gutless wonder Woodrow Wilson is.